So, good morning. I don't know if this is a lesson in leadership, so I'm not going to call it that. Let's just call it kind of some reflections on a career. My name's Tom Bradford. This is my channel. I'm usually doing content related to software development and tech leadership. I may veer off at some point in the future, but most likely I'll sort of stick to this stuff. So today, uh, I want to talk about architects. And that's my dog. She doesn't like when I speak, so she may grunt and moan while I'm giving this rant. Um, Throughout my career, I've gone back and forth from holding like a really deep appreciation for architects and considering them invaluable to an organization, toward absolutely despising them and believing that they shouldn't exist at all. Um, Complicating that is that I've often held the title of architect, and perhaps adding to the complication was that I was never quite sure what that even meant. Um, I still don't know what it means, and that's probably because it doesn't mean anything at the end of the day. Whether or not you're an architect or an engineer is a matter of altitude above problems rather than skills. So, so let's start with some definitions. What's an architect? Well, an architect is a person who codifies the boundaries between the constituent parts of their system. They care about interfaces, they care about data flow, payloads, and contracts. They care about latency, performance, and privileges. They're concerned with cohesion and coupling. And they care about employing patterns that will sustainably result in valuable business outcomes. Fair enough? You think that's the right definition of architect? Good. What is an engineer? Here's the definition. An engineer is a person who codifies the boundaries between the constituent parts of their system. They care about interfaces. They care about data flow, payloads, and contracts. They care about latency, performance, and privileges. They're concerned with cohesion and coupling, and they care about employing patterns that will sustainably result in valuable business outcomes. Sounds similar. In fact, it sounds exactly the same. So what's the difference? Well, there is none. There's there's absolutely no difference. And if there is any, it ultimately comes down to scope and breadth. All of the concerns are the same, as are the constraints between both of those roles. So there's a reason for that, and the reason is because it's turtles all the way down, as the saying would go. And if you know about the saying basically is about infinite regression. The world is held up by a turtle who, in turn, is held up by a larger turtle, so on and so forth. And I see architecture and software development being exactly the same situation. Um, because architects are basically coders on the whole of a system, beyond the boundaries of any individual team or department, business unit, whatever you want to call it, although they work internally as well. They have responsibility to the turtles in that they're holding them up. The choices that we make impact multiple departments, units, teams, and individuals. We constrain to empower, not to impede, or at least we should. And so every choice we make must ask the question, how could this go wrong? Who benefits? Who will experience friction? And does that benefit outweigh the costs involved? And the questioning must extend as deep as the organizations we're serving. As you can see, she's upset. She doesn't like it. Well, I'm going to talk to her, and you're going to watch. Lola, go lay down. It's okay. Go. Okay, so and that's why I've had probably such a hard time with the term architects and what being an architect actually means. Probably because so many architects are ego tripping out on organizations, acting as if they're something fundamentally different than engineers, and as if their decisions are endowed with greatness, even when imbued with none of the deep reflection that might make those decisions great. And that applies equally well to engineers, to be quite honest with you. Quite a while back, I was conducting a certified Scrum developer training at a rather large organization. Don't ask. Their developers told me that the architects at the company had prescribed the use of functors. I asked why, and not a single developer could answer. They also couldn't explain what a functor is. Now, I can think of a dozen reasons why functors are a beneficial pattern, particularly in signal handling, which is what these developers were doing. But the fact that none of them knew why means that their architects did a piss poor job of explaining it to them. It also means that the architects weren't thinking about the friction involved in attempting to introduce such a pattern to their engineering organization, which is also incredibly bad. They were ivory tower architects, right? Possibly by accident, but probably by choice. And I've made the same mistake in my career. I've made many mistakes in my career, as you may well know. Though this one mistake, and it is an ivory tower mistake, was trying to introduce the concepts of CQRS and event sourcing into an organization that was in absolutely no position to be able to grok and run with those ideas. It was an absolute disaster, just complete disaster. And I won't make those mistakes again. And I tend to not make mistakes like that anymore. But some people make those mistakes in accordance with what they believe is their job description, and that needs to end. If you believe that your job is to make these decisions and push them down on an organization without understanding the capabilities of that organization or even the business problems that the organization is trying to deliver against, then I'm sorry, you're failing at your job. We're the big fat turtles that all the other turtles are standing on. We need to lose some weight to get lean and stop potentially rolling over and crushing the other turtles under our weight. And don't get me wrong, like I said, I've also worked with some great architects, really, really good architects. They applied many of the same principles as engineering teams. That means they worked iteratively. They thought in terms of evolvability, experimentation, and generating valuable feedback loops. And they even performed testing at multiple layers and stages of their work. They had stopping criteria. They were very collaborative, right? They exist. These architects exist, and we shouldn't just throw the baby out with the bathwater when it comes to architects, simply because we've had some bad experiences with probably far too many of them. Why can't we all work like that? Well, I don't know. And for those people who don't know what CQRS is, it's actually a certification that you've read in Eric Evans' book. It doesn't mean you understand it, it's just that you read it. But at least you can put that on your LinkedIn profile. So there you have it. I'll see you next time.